I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
Alrighty, welcome to the introductory episode of Politics with Chad and Chris. Chris will not be with us today. This is a pilot episode of the show where we're going to sit down and talk about economics, politics, and everything going on in current events today in America. As I said before, Chris won't be joining us today. This is a pilot episode, so I'm really doing this for him. And I'm going to let him listen to it and see what he thinks of the entire broadcast. This broadcast will not be an extremely long podcast. We're going to just go over some basic news and information of today, and then I'll expound on each of these articles and kind of give you my take on each one of them. I've got about 5 articles up here, all of which I found extremely interesting. Let's tackle this first one. It's about nullification. Apparently, Forbes has said that nullification is a loopy idea. He tells us that such hostility, or I should say, Richard Selzman from Forbes tells us, not Forbes himself. Steve Forbes is a very sound, money-loving guy, so I don't think he thinks that state nullification is a loopy idea, but apparently Richard Selzman does. He says that such hostility to the judiciary today isn't only found in Mr. Obama and his ilk, or in the Democratic Party, but also in the Jeffersonian Libertarians. Oh my goodness, Jeffersonian Libertarians were so terrifying. We should be compared to Obama and his ilk. As is obvious in the works of Tom Woods and Andrew Napolitano, which defend the Jeffersonian notion of nullification, a loopy, anarchic idea that says juries, legislators, and the executive branch officials can decide on their own what's constitutional and thus can ignore, defy, or nullify rulings by courts and judges. The first thing that pops out to me is Mr. Selzman's complete lack of knowledge on the difference between jury nullification and state nullification. They are two different things. But apparently Mr. Selzman doesn't know that. He just sees the word nullification and he starts pulling his hair out. And so that was the first thing that I noticed there is, anyone that wants to nullify anything, we have to be beholden to a Supreme Court or any judiciary that is basically a set of oligarchs. In fact, the Founding Fathers said that. Thomas Jefferson said that if the ultimate decision-making power at the federal level or at any level, when it came to what's constitutional and what's not constitutional, fell to the hands of a few men in black robes, that we would just be an oligarchy. And we're not an oligarchy. And so the ultimate check on the power of the federal judiciary branch of government is state governments and state nullification. So I found that really interesting. Tom Woods tackles it as well on his website, and he really just gives this guy a knockout blow, which looks like he needs. Another article that's also interesting to me. Neo-Nazis, National Socialist individuals are arming up, and South Florida, or North Florida, I should say, Sanford, Florida. I'm not sure if that's in North or South Florida. I'm not familiar with the area, but everyone knows about the Trayvon Martin shooting and everything that's going on with that right now, with the race baiters out in force, trying to storm up racial hate, racial division. I can't stand that. I think that America needs to move forward with much of this, and we need to get these Al Sharptons or Al Sharptongues and the other guy, I forgot his name. I can't even think of his name right now. I don't need to know his name. He's an idiot. But apparently they're arming up in Florida, saying that they're prepared for post-Trayvon Martin violence. And this is escalating, and the race baiters are continuing to pump up this idea of a race war and get people into fighting each other and dividing people into groups. And they're doing this on purpose because they know that the American people are waking up to big government. They know that we see the socialism and we see our rights being consistently trampled on by the federal government. And so when people start coming together, their first tactic is to divide and conquer. And so this is a divisive tactic being used by the federal government and the State Department to try and use these race baiters to drum up some sort of race war. So I think it's terrible. These neo-Nazis down there need to also just chill out, calm down, don't escalate the situation. I do not agree with neo-Nazis at all, but I do agree with their free speech rights, but I don't agree with violence. I don't care where it comes from. Another article that I see right now is uh, a man got knocked out, stripped naked, and robbed of everything. Um, this was in Baltimore. Um, and, you know, this is something that is becoming a major problem in America today, where individuals, frankly, don't care about other people. In fact, it happens all the time, and you'll see it on street cameras in just many cities across the nation where someone will be either getting beat up, get hit by a car, bleeding out, dying. And you've got people walking by, they don't care, they don't pay attention, they just walk by and they don't even pay attention to that person on the street. It's horrible, and it shows the moral decline in America today. Uh, and so this crowd of onlookers, as this guy was stripped naked and robbed, laugh hysterically. This article says it's from the American Dream. And oh, hold on a second. I just noticed this. I didn't notice this a second ago. It was a black mob. So this is tied to the Trayvon Martin situation, where you've got black people who are being sparked with emotion by these race baiters out there trying to work them up into a frenzy. I'm seeing these articles every day where you've got black mobs or a few, three or four black people who are attacking, individual white people and beating them, senseless or almost beating them to death, lighting white kids on fire in Kansas. It's horrible. I didn't even realize that this was connected to the Trayvon Martin situation. I just thought it was part of the moral decline in America. It's not something that I would I would be surprised to see in America today. I shouldn't even be laughing. This is horrible. But it just shows, what's going on and how wide this Trayvon Martin net is catching all of America in the emotional bigotry and race baiting that's going on. So I thought that was interesting as well. So check that article out if you get a chance. This one is on the American Dream and then also on prisonplanet.com as well, which is Alex Jones's website. The next article I have that we're going to talk about is Israel. This comes out of the London Telegraph, and the title of the article is Israel would not be able to destroy Iran's nuclear program with a preemptive airstrike. Now, I found this interesting because I was almost certain that Israel could destroy Iran's nuclear program with a preemptive airstrike. That's interesting to me. I don't know if this is more war drum beating to try to get boots on the ground in Iran. It would not surprise me. I think that Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to go to war with Iran before his next election. I also think that Barack Obama was hoping that he could get the Iran war going before the election because similar people are the same everywhere, and the people in America when they're at war tend to rally around their leader and they don't want to change and go to a new leader, and the same is true in Israel. So I think that Netanyahu knows that. He's hoping that he can get this war going before he has to face re-election attempts. Let me read this little excerpt from the article. Uh, While Israel has the most powerful air force in the Middle East, it would be a struggle to mount the complex strikes necessary to deal a real blow to Iran's well-protected nuclear plants. Senior Israeli officials have warned the country is prepared to take unilateral action to stop Iran from acquiring a nuclear bomb. So that's coming out of the Defense Weekly, Jane's Defense Weekly, who does studies on people's, I guess, countries' defense capabilities. I'm not that familiar with the Jane's Defense Weekly, but I did find that article really interesting. So, right now, from an economic perspective in America today, unemployment numbers have actually dropped down just a little bit. I think that is a ruse. I don't think that it's correct. I think that just because you have people stop looking for work doesn't mean that unemployment's going down. Unemployment's getting worse. By far, it's getting worse. And the Federal Reserve came out this past week and said they would not be doing QE3, which I think it hurt gold prices initially, or at least it stagnated them a little bit. They took a little bit of a hit, not much. But, the reality is they are doing QE3. They have, interest rates at 0%. That's QE. That's inflationary. So the reality is the Federal Reserve is pumping the market with cheap credit. It is trying to keep this economy on life support right now. And the reality is until America has the needed correction it needs to get rid of the malinvestment in the economy and to start having real growth again, we're not going to see a real recovery. And unemployment is going to continue to be a struggle for this nation. So that's where I see the economy today as well. So this was the first podcast. I thought it went extremely well. It was about 10 minutes long. We've got covered 4 or 5 different articles here and a brief little coverage on the economy. I think that hopefully when I'm able to get Chris on here, me and Chris can discuss more in depth and have more discussions about each one of these, and each one of us give our opinions on the news of the day, and that should be interesting as well. Thanks again for tuning in. If you tuned into this first broadcast, I appreciate your tuning in and listening to my commentary on today's events. Again, this is Politics with Chad and Chris. Have a good day.